Today we're just going to quickly talk about the tools that I think are absolutely essential to have in your van at all times. They're not necessarily all the tools that I have in my van because I've got a little bit more space and I kind of prepare for every eventuality, but I really sat down and I thought hard about what sort of things, if I really had to cull down my toolkit, what are the things that can be, have multi-use, and what can I really get down to the bare basics, but that will still allow me to repair, modify, upgrade my van and the interior fit out just about anywhere and not have to rely on going anywhere or using anything. So the first thing I want to start off, like in the previous video, is safety stuff. So if you have a pair of polycarbonate sunglasses, you can use them instead of a pair of safety glasses. If you don't, these things are lightweight, they take up no space, and they will save you a lot of grief if you're doing something and you have some chemicals while you're crawling underneath the van, or if you're drilling something, stop anything from going in your eyes. So safety is something that should never be ignored. So always make sure you have a pair of safety glasses. Second thing, a dust mask or a respirator mask. Really important to have. A good quality one is going to be better than a cheaper one, so like a P2 rather than just a standard dust mask. These are really helpful to have. Again, if you're drilling, you're cutting, you're doing anything, you're on a friend's property helping them out with some spray painting or doing something, you want to have a mask that's going to give you a good level of protection. So I'll put those away for now. In terms of ear protection, I carry a set of ear muffs with me, but if you really want to get down your space, I would recommend some little disposable earplugs or reusable earplugs, which is actually what I have as well in the van. So you don't need a big pair of muffs when you're traveling around in your van because it does take up space, but it's worthwhile to have some sort of ear protection as well if you need to drill or cut something that makes a lot of noise. The next thing obviously is hand protection. So I have 2 pairs of gloves in the van for myself and one for Jala. We use these for everything. If we're doing any repairs or if we're changing a tire or anything like that underneath the van, cover your hands up, protect your hands, keep them clean. Even when you're putting fuel, diesel into the vehicle as well. The other thing that I really recommend is we have 2 of these little headlamps, so LED rechargeable headlamps, really helpful just for when you're underneath the van or you're in a little tight nook or cranny and you need to see what you're doing. A little headlamp is the best way of doing it, so grab a couple of these. They're not expensive. This is a generic one, but you can buy brand name ones and they're under $50 for a set and they last for a long time. The next thing, I'll start with this stuff here on this side of the table so I can move it out of the way. So in terms of power tools, the thing that I bought recently is one of these little cordless vacuum cleaners. They work really well. I use this just for vacuuming and cleaning the inside of the van, but if I'm doing any modifications or upgrades, like right now I'm actually fixing the pantry door, I'm drilling and I'm cutting and I'm making a mess, this thing's really great to have on hand in the van. It's compact, it's easy to empty, easy to store, and it helps keep everything clean inside. So I recommend that. Instead of a circular saw, I use a circular saw for the build, but I think if I really had to, I could probably get rid of the circular saw and just have a jigsaw, just for doing upgrades and modifications. A jigsaw can be a really versatile tool, especially this one here being cordless. So the cordless jigsaw, you can get all different types of blades, sharp blades, long blades, fine blades. You can cut wood, steel, aluminium, whatever, depending what you want to do and depending on the blade. So this is a really versatile cutting tool, and it's relatively lightweight, it's relatively compact, it's easy to use, and it shares the same batteries with all my other tools. So a little cordless portable jigsaw with a bunch of different blades is something that I would recommend. Then in terms of your drills, so a impact drill. The impact drill is a really versatile tool. Now its speciality is to put in fasteners, screws really fast, really easily, but it does have a bunch of little attachments and fittings that will allow it to use Tek screws. You can get bolt fittings as well, so to suit different types of sockets. So this can be a really functional, versatile tool, compact, lightweight, easy to use. I wouldn't be anywhere without it, so I definitely recommend having a impact driver. And make sure you get when you get an impact driver, make sure you get all the different fittings so you can use different attachments. So you can use bolts, screw fasteners, whatever, you can use it with this. So I'd recommend that. Drill driver. Now this could almost be redundant because with the impact drill you can actually get special attachments that will allow you to fit drill bits onto it. I like to keep the drill driver anyway because it does have the clutch that will allow me to set it to different settings. So if I'm using like a small little tiny hinge screw, I can set it to a lower power setting and it doesn't rip it out. The impact drill is 1 speed and that's full bore. So that's why I still like to have a drill driver with me as well. And it just allows me, and it also just having 2 tools. So one I can have set up to actually put the screws in, one I have set up to drill the pilot holes or drill the holes to attach something. So one of these is really good. This one here, a little Dremel rotary tool. So this is a little cordless rotary tool. It's adjustable setting, goes from low speed to full speed. And it's a really, really versatile and powerful tool. So you can get hundreds of different attachments for this, and it will allow you to do all sorts of different jobs: engraving, grinding, cutting, cleaning, whatever. This is a tool for it. So a cordless one is especially versatile and useful, and it weighs nothing and it takes up no space. Even with all the little fittings and attachments, it's all inside a little storage box. So something like that, I'd really recommend a little Dremel, cordless Dremel tool. Now wrapping up with the tools, this is something that I got recently. So the Dremel is charged through a wall socket, but I've got an inverter to charge that through it. But I was using all my other batteries for the vacuum and the drills and the jigsaw so much. I've also got a little portable blower as well inside the van that I use. So this is a little DC Cigger jack charger. So I can plug this into the Cigger jack, charge it off the van battery through the solar panels, and I can charge up all my tool batteries. So I could be out in the middle of nowhere, absolutely just parked in the middle of the desert, and I could be happily working away in my van. I can charge all my batteries, I can get everything done. As long as my solar panels are working, connected, everything's good. As I mentioned in the first video about building the van, these quick clamps were awesome. I bought a 6-pack of these and I had a couple of metal G clamps as well. These things are really fast, really quick, really easy to use. You don't need 6 of them in the van for modifications and upgrades. You could probably do with 1. I chose to keep 2 on hand just because it helps stop things from moving around, having 2 points of contact. So something like that is really good. Tape measure, really important. So a heavy duty 8-meter tape measure. You want something like that. Again, just really compact and versatile. And what next? Again, you want to have a little box of glues and double-sided adhesive tapes. I use this stuff all the time. Something comes loose, I want to attach something, a little monitor or display. I've got all the tape, I've got everything ready to go. Surface prep, spray. I've got Loctite in case one of the bolts comes loose and I want to Loctite it, make sure it's secure. Put it all in a plastic tub, have it on hand. I keep this underneath the passenger seat and it's all there, ready to go. The next thing, again, pair of scissors, just miscellaneous sort of stuff, something on hand to cut things. Box knife, I've gone over in the previous 2 videos how useful, important and versatile these are. I mean, I could do just about everything with the box. I could even get away with the scissors probably for most things. So a box cutter is definitely a tool that you want to have. It's lightweight, it's compact. I use it for a lot of things. Even if you don't have a knife or a multi-tool on hand, a box cutter will usually do the job. So have one of these and have a little packet of spare blades. Multi-tool, really helpful. So I've got my pliers in the van, but if I was really had to get rid of extra things, I could probably get rid of my 3 sets of pliers, and between scissors, a box knife and a little multi-tool with the plier on it, that would do me fine. So yeah, as long as you've got something that you can get in there, grip something, twist something, you've got that kind of purchase on it, a little multi-tool like this with the pliers especially is really helpful to have. As always, thick Sharpie pen, have a few of these on hand. You use these for everything, marking things, lining things, whatever. You use it more than you think. So have a couple of these in hand and make sure that they're not dried out and old. Set of screwdrivers, you probably don't need this many, but I like to have a few different lengths and a few different kind of sizes on the end just to pry things, undo things, pull things apart. I use these a lot as well, so I'm happy to have a few of these. Phillips head screwdrivers, I had a bunch of these, but I've whittled it down. One large head, one smaller head, and just in the standard length as well. I didn't need the extra long ones, so a couple of screwdrivers is really handy to have as well. A hammer with a mallet attachment is the best way of getting a kind of all-in-one. So a claw hammer is particularly useful as well. I use the claw part to pry and bend things out, so that's another really useful thing. Keep it underneath. I use this for hammering pegs for the awning, all sorts of things. Have a hammer on hand. Personal protection if things really got desperate as well, so it's a really good thing to have on hand. These things here, these are called vice grips or locking pliers is a generic name. So locking pliers have a little mechanism that you can adjust on the back and you can lock them into different shapes and sizes. So they're really, really useful for if you have like a screw has snapped off or a bolt seized, you can lock the locking plier on, and then you're not relying on your hand to hold the plier tight in place. You can lock it in place, and then you can open something up or remove something or pull something out. So I have a little like a small one with kind of like a needle head, and then I've got like a larger one here with the standard head on there, and this is a bit larger and has a bit more purchase. So between these two I can accomplish a lot of things, and they're a bit of a substitute as well. As I mentioned, you know, with a multi-tool it's the same thing. With a head like this and a locking plier you can probably get away with one or the other as well if you really needed to. So vice grips, locking pliers, highly recommend it. Keep one or two of these in your van or in your glove box at all time. Caulking gun. Caulking gun is not that large because when you pack it away, it folds in fairly compact. I keep a spare tube of the Dicor lap sealant in case there's ever a crack or a leak or something on the roof. This is the stuff that you want to use. This is what you use for your fan, to put a bead of sealant around the fan to stop it from leaking. And yeah, just a cheap, simple, lightweight caulking gun, really handy. If you're putting lap sealant, silicone, whatever, you can use this. You have it on hand. It's really the only way you can use it with these tubes. And that way you can, you know, if you got a leak on your roof or something's come loose or something's fallen off, you're always going to be able to do it. So find a space for this. You're not going to use it often, but have it on hand. The next thing is basic electrical tools. Now, I've got the pliers and I've got the box cutter. That will take care of most cutting and crimping tasks. I did decide that I would want to keep this basic insulated crimping plier just because I do use it quite often when I'm attaching a new light or a new device or something's come loose and I need to repair it. This is a really handy thing to have on hand. It's not heavy, it's not big, it doesn't take up much space. So something like that is what I'd recommend having. Then you want to have a little mixed baggie of terminals. So that's for connecting your wires. So if you decide that you want to add a new device, you want to put an extra light or an extra alarm or whatever, you've got a little baggie of terminals and connections, and that will allow you then to install that device when you use it with a crimping plier. Same deal with the little lugs. Just a mixed packet of heat shrink is really handy as well. If you decide to upgrade or change anything in the van, this will allow you to, you know, make it neat and make it safe and secure. Bic lighter, have one of these, have 10 of these in your van because you know how it is, you lose them, even if you're not a smoker like myself. I have 2 of these in the glove box. I have one in my little box of tapes. I have them everywhere, so keep a couple of lighters on hand. And then a little portable multimeter. So something like this is really, really handy to have. You can do error fault testing with this, continuity test. You can check the voltage of your solar panels, of your battery if you're having any issues, or if you want to double check something. You know, maybe one of the other sensors isn't working properly, you want to double check it. Having a little battery operated, compact, portable multimeter, really, really handy thing to have. The last lot of stuff here is all your spanners, wrenches and sockets. So the problem with wrenches, spanners and sockets is that it's very difficult to substitute sizes. So when you have a 5 or a 10 millimeter bolt, you really need to use a 5 or 10 millimeter socket or spanner. So for that reason, I recommend having a good selection. So have a couple of these ratcheting spanners on hand. These are really, really helpful, easy to get into tight little nooks and crannies and difficult to reach places. Have these in a few different sizes as well, so I recommend doing that. This isn't an ideal tool to use, it's a last resort, but nevertheless it's really helpful to have on hand. So a little adjustable spanner. These will just allow you to get to larger bolts and give you a little bit of purchase to open them up. Having a couple of these star sockets or E-sockets is really helpful as well. In the European vans they actually use these quite a lot, so having a full set of these is really helpful. Don't take up much space, so it's not a real penalty. And then finally having a full set of metric and imperial sockets with a couple of different handles. You could probably condense it down if you really want it to just the core sizes and maybe one handle and a few adapters. I've chosen not to do that at the moment just because, as I mentioned before, if you have a 21mm bolt or whatever, you need to use, you need to use the correct size to suit that. If you use the wrong size, you'll end up stripping and damaging the nut or the bolt head. So I've chosen to keep the full set, and that's because to use the right tool for the right job is pretty critical, and it'll save you a lot of hassle in the future as well. So that's it today in terms of the tools that I recommend. Hopefully it's not been too much and too overwhelming. As I said, I've designed this video for people who are starting out, people who maybe just finished their van build, or they've bought a van that's already been built and they've done a little spruce up and renovation. So these are sorts of things that I recommend. The only other thing that I haven't shown here is something like an oil filter wrench if you plan to do oil changes yourself. So an oil filter wrench is a really important tool to have for that. And a couple of spare hoses and fan belts and whatever as well would probably be a good idea depending on the age of your vehicle and where you're going. So yeah, other than that, these, everything I have here on the table, it would all fit pretty neatly into a plastic storage tub, and you can put that in your van and have it on hand. I do recommend any tools that you use frequently, like scissors, box knife, your tapes, all that sort of thing. I would recommend putting that somewhere more accessible, either like in the glove box or put it underneath your seat in a little storage compartment underneath the seat. So keep that sort of stuff on hand, and the tools that you don't use as much, put them into a storage tub and tuck them somewhere safely out of the way. So that's it for now, I think. Thank you for watching. I hope it made sense. I hope it was helpful. Give it a like if you enjoyed it and if you did find it helpful. If there's any tools that I missed, leave in the comments below. Let us know. If there's anything that you're not sure about, leave it in the comments below as well. We can see what else needs to be done and what else needs to be added. I'll add some links to the most important tools in the description of the video. And yeah, until next time, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned and look after yourselves out there.